So there's actually 7 tests, 8 if you're still regularly cycling, that you should ask your doctors for to evaluate hormone problems. The first is a thorough thyroid panel. TSH is not good enough. TSH misses 90% of thyroid problems. TSH is not even thyroid hormone, it's a brain hormone. But we know that for people with chronically high stress, the brain isn't functioning as well, and the hormones regulatory system that makes thyroid stimulating hormone gets out of kilter. So in people with complex chronic issues like high stress or environmental toxic exposures, a TSH is not a reliable indicator of thyroid function. It is good to run, but it's a small piece of the picture. You also need free T4, which is the pre-hormone that your thyroid gland makes. It's also what synthroid and levothyroxine is. You need free T3, which is the active hormone that stimulates the hormone receptor. That's what liothyronine is. And you need reverse T3, which is a similar hormone to T3, but just enough different that it doesn't stimulate the receptor. In fact, it blocks the receptor. If you look at your two hands, you have a right hand and a left hand, and they're similar, right? They have the same ingredients. They each have 4 fingers and a thumb, but they're not interchangeable because the thumb is in the wrong place. Free T3 is your right hand and reverse T3 is your left hand. The hormone receptor is a right-handed glove. When you take your right hand, it fits perfectly into a right-handed glove and the receptor is triggered. But what happens when you try to put your left hand into a right-handed glove? It doesn't fit. The receptor's not triggered. You do not get the energy response. In fact, it blocks the receptor because you can't fit both a left and a right hand in the glove at the same time. So not only does reverse T3 not trigger the energy response that thyroid hormone does, it blocks the receptor from being able to receive the active hormone. So it's a double whammy and it causes a significant functional hypothyroidism. And we know from functional medicine that things like stress, toxins, certain mineral deficiencies, liver and kidney dysfunction, inflammation, those things are what trigger the wrong pathway, the reverse T3 pathway. If you have those things, then levothyroxine or synthroid will not work for you because it will take the T4 and it will make left hands instead of right hands, and it will not fit in the right-handed glove. The next lab to check is a hemoglobin A1c. This is a marker of long-term blood sugar control. It should be 4 to 5%. The normal range goes all the way up to 6.5%. Blood sugar is tightly regulated, and when your blood sugar goes up, your body goes into alarm mode. And in that alarm mode, everything cycles. The liver starts converting sugar into fat. Your insulin levels rise. Your body tries to push the blood sugar into the muscles and into fat. But if that's not good enough, then the body says, we got to get rid of it. We got to stick it somewhere. I know, let's put it on protein. So it sticks glucose molecules on protein. That's called glycation. Sugar molecules, protein molecules with sugar on them don't work the same. You see, your intracellular enzymes are made out of protein, and they're gears that make things run. And if you start putting little pieces of gum on these gears, over time, the machine gets clogged and the gears don't turn. And that's what glycation is. So when you check a hemoglobin A1c, you're measuring the protein hemoglobin, looking to see what percent of your hemoglobin on your red blood cells has a sugar molecule attached to it. I hate to tell you this, but the majority of Americans are not metabolically healthy, and they have a hemoglobin A1c that's too high. And that is an inflammatory marker, and it is not healthy. Healthy levels are 4 to 5%. Another test to ask your doctor for: total and free testosterone. This is a can of worms, ladies. Unfortunately, traditional medicine does not know optimal levels for testosterone. They only know what they call normal range, which is looking at 90% of the population. A lot of these women have symptoms of low testosterone, and that's why their levels were checked. So if you're in the normal range, you're probably in the normal range of women with low testosterone, and that's not what we want. But it's still good to know your levels and then work with someone that understands that this normal range is not good enough, that there's an optimal level. Another blood test to ask for is a vitamin D level. This is called 25-hydroxy vitamin D. Vitamin D is crucial for your immune system, and it is a crucial hormone for hormone function, especially your sex steroids like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. These hormones will not work if they don't have vitamin D with them. Another blood test B12. B12 is important for energy and mood. Along with B12, you should have methylmalonic acid. That is the measure to see inside the cell, is the B12 getting in there and able to do its job, because just having B12 in your bloodstream doesn't mean it can get inside the cell. You should also have your inflammation checked with the CRP, C-reactive protein. Make sure it's the highly sensitive one. This is a non-specific general marker for inflammation. Ideally, it should be less than 1. Most people are between 1 and 3, and that's considered a normal range. Greater than 3 is considered high for traditional medicine, but ideally, it should be less than 1. It's also important to check cortisol, but don't do this with a blood test. A blood test is a one-time snapshot. We need to know what your cortisol pattern is throughout the day. It should be low while you're sleeping. It peaks in the morning, and then it gradually goes down for the rest of the day to be low when you're ready for bed at night. Listen, you're not going to be able to go to a lab and have your blood checked 4 times in a day to get a cortisol curve. Not only that, but someone coming at you with a needle to draw your blood, that can give you a cortisol spike just with the stress of, oh gosh, I hope they get it on the first stick. The best test for cortisol is a saliva test. And it's easy to do, other than the fact that your mouth dries up as soon as you realize you need to spit into a tube. This test is easy to do. You collect 4 saliva samples at specific points throughout the day, and then the lab runs this cortisol curve to see how your curve compares to the optimal curve. And if you're still menstruating, you should have a day 21 estradiol and progesterone level. That is when your progesterone levels are usually at their peak, and that will give you a good idea of estrogen and progesterone balance. Will tell you if you ovulated. If your progesterone levels are really low at day 21, you didn't ovulate that month. It is so important for menstruating women, if you're still having periods, to not just have a random estrogen and progesterone done, because those hormones vary with your cycle dramatically. It's important to know what day you are in your cycle, and the one that we get the most information for these 2 hormones is around cycle day 21. So there you have it. Those are the lab tests to ask your doctor for. Now, how should you ask? I have a suggestion. Talk to your doctor and say, hey, I've been researching and I've learned about hormones and micronutrients and how important they are for health, and I'm trying to be proactive about my health. Would you be willing to order these tests for me? And then sit back and see what your doctor has to say. Give them the list. If they poo-poo it or they're not willing to order those tests on you, get a different opinion. Get a different doctor, or find a way to order the labs on yourself. But really, honestly, I would get a different doctor at that point. If they're not going to listen to you and they're not going to help you be proactive with your health, they're not your best ally. You need someone that you can confide in. You need someone that will listen to you. You need someone that understands the difference between normal and optimum. You need someone that has a game plan to get you and keep you healthy for many years to come. We want you to think straight, stable moods, feel great, feel good in your skin, feel good in your clothes. You shouldn't have to buy a new wardrobe every other year because your clothes don't fit. If you're gonna buy a new wardrobe, you want it to be because you feel great and you just want new clothes, not because you have to because your clothes don't fit. If you need help, my team and I are here for you. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We are the Hormone Locksmiths. We know how to help you optimize your hormones and optimize your whole body function so that your hormones work right.